Health Siren is proud to sponsor and presents a new episode in the series on freedom from disease by Anand Bapat, acupuncturist naturopath based in Pune. Please enjoy it, share it with others, and provide feedback as well. Here is Anand Bapat.
This is the video on freedom from disease part 8 exercise. This video is going to be split up into 4 parts: 8A, 8B, 8C and 8D. Since the topic is large and we wish to expand on it thoroughly without imposing on others, we are going to do it this way. So let us start with exercise and see where we come up with. So when we talk about exercise, what are the things we need to know? What is exercise is the first basic question. What is good exercise? That is important. The different exercise forms that are available to us and their benefits. Discussing weights, weight training, running, sports, yoga, Surya Namaskar, etc. to bring clarity to this topic of exercise, which has got a whole range of different options. And how can we practice safe exercises? So what is exercise? Exercise is a system to induce muscles to perform better than they are currently. We need to remember the muscles are the battery power, energy storage centers which can be released when we are active or during disease processes. When I say this, for those of you who understand a bit of physiology, there is the ADP and the ATP. The muscles store energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and they convert it into adenosine diphosphate and then pass on that extra bit of energy to the body to work. Our role is to build up this battery power by building up muscles. It is interesting to note for our day-to-day life, walking, talking, going to the toilet, etc., and our basic work, not a physically active work, we normally require very minimal muscle power for our daily activities. When we exert in any way, we use lots of power, but also generate some because the muscles are active and they're also learning to become stronger. So there's a bit of recharging of the battery as well. But it depends on how much power you have and how much is the recharging ability. So when we talk about muscles, we talk about muscle power. So what are we talking about when we say muscle power? Muscles can increase in strength, size, power, speed, reaction times, and there are larger fibers and sometimes increase in number of fibers as well. The fibers can become larger in size and sometimes can increase in the number of fibers that are there. Good exercise stimulates improved concentration, determination, focus, confidence, and discipline. Exercise stimulates body to produce endorphins, which are pain reducing, happiness feeling, and habit forming. Now mark my words, habit forming is important there. Like anything else, minimal exercise benefits only minimally. Excess exercise can benefit and sometimes injure or damage the body. So we need to be careful. So again, going back to muscles. So what are the muscles? Muscle fibers have two tendencies. They are called as white and red. We won't go into the technical details. We'll just go into the practical details. They are either fast firing fibers or they are slow firing fibers. Now these decide whether we can perform fast activities like sprints or slow sports like long distance running, etc. So again, we keep coming back to what is exercise, and we'll try to give it a more complete definition here. The complete definition of exercise should be any activity that provides movement with resistance to all the muscles of the body. Now the resistance may be just air resistance, or the resistance may be just the movement of lifting that arm or lifting that leg. You don't have to have weights. But that resistance also is adequate to consider it exercise. It is important for good exercise to have all joints move through the complete range of motion. Now, this is an interesting part to note. The heart and lungs have to be worked for a minimum of 20 minutes continuously to get the cardio benefit. Now, exercise can also be defined in different categories as aerobic and anaerobic. Most exercises are aerobic, with sprints being considered anaerobic. They can be considered resistive and non-resistive. Now here you're talking about resistive as in against force, so against weights, against body weight, against pushing somebody, against hitting a tennis ball, etc., which becomes a bit resistive. And non-resistive will be like running or jogging. Brief and persistent. People can do exercise for a very brief time, just 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and forget it. Or others can do it for up to half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, and be persistent about it over time. Exercise can be looked at as muscle builders and power builders. Okay, power is speed and force, muscle is bulk. Others will categorize it as speed builders and strength builders. Now, of course, strength is increasing in every one of them. But for people like weightlifters, the strength will increase, the bulk will increase, but their speed may not improve. Whereas people like martial artists, the speed will improve, the power will improve, but their strength may not be that much in comparison to weightlifters. Of course, any exercise done properly is most effective during the growing years than the later years because it formulates the growing pattern. Muscle activity during the growing years can help form better, stronger bones, better joints. The muscles grow better, grow bigger, and they absorb a lot more development than they can after a certain age. Now, what are the things that exercise must provide to consider it as useful and consider it as good exercise? There has to be a noticeable gain in fitness values, which are increase in strength, increase in flexibility, increase in reflexes, a focused mind state, reduced heart rate, and deeper breathing with reduced breath rate. Now, not all exercises will give all of the above, but a lot of them are generally incorporated. Now, the commonly performed exercises are playing sports. We all love sports. So, playing any sport is a form of exercise. Swimming is a very good exercise. Weights and exercises is very good. Walking, jogging, running is a good exercise. Stretching is not ideally an exercise, but it is good for the muscles. Slow motion exercises are based on the yogic principle and they are very powerful, and we'll talk about that down track. Yoga is a very powerful system. It is not exercise per se, but today, over the last 30, 40, 50 years, it has become jumbled in with exercise and people think yoga is exercise. And we are going to make some reference to that and we'll talk about that at length later on. Surya Namaskar is a very good exercise because in that single exercise, it incorporates every muscle, every joint of the body moving through the full range, and no other exercise in the world does that, which is why it becomes very, very efficient. Pranayam is a good breathing exercise, and I know it is not exercise because you don't move the body from A to B, but I've included it in that because I feel as part of exercise it can still be helpful in improving your parameters. So, talking about exercise, it is one of the best practice in life to have some form of exercise in our lifestyle. Yoga is considered an anabolic exercise because it does not waste too much. It is more energy building, muscle building, and the wastage component is a lot less. It is quite practical, and when done properly, it is very powerful. Pranayam also is anabolic because there is very little wastage of energy during pranayam. One of the things I can consciously remind you of at this stage is pranayam is about breathing deep. And most of you will say, if I go for a brisk run or a brisk walk or go for a swim, as soon as I finish, I'm breathing deep. But what you're doing is you're creating an oxygen debt because of the excess activity you have done beyond your ability to cope with the oxygen you have. And you actually come out of the water or come out after you exercise and sit there and breathe deep because you want to get rid of the lactic acid that has been formed. So you are what I call a credit card type of exercise system where you actually spend all the energy, burn up the oxygen, create an oxygen debt, create lactic acid or in the process of it, and then try to diffuse it by deep breathing afterwards. In pranayam, the lactic acid stage never gets there. So there is no wastage of energy and you're using all the oxygen you get towards positive energy, which is why it is considered more anabolic. In spite of me saying that swimming is a bit sort of tiring at times and you might be a credit card system user, but swimming is one of the better exercises because it's all round cardiovascular, cardiopulmonary, and most muscles of the body are worked. Whole body weight training is quite good. Active sports are great. Here we are giving you a glimpse of what Surya Namaskar looks like, weight training, just a couple of pictures to show you what it's all about. Now when we talk about sports, let us go into a bit more detail. I list here all racket sports. Racket sports include baseball and cricket and anything where you have ice hockey, etc., where you use some part of the arms to work on it. Why is that different from other sports? Racket sport generally, it's a right hand or left handed sport. So you tend to be imbalanced in your exercise build up, in your muscle power, etc., etc. And you generally find one arm is stronger than the other, one side of the body is stronger than the other, depending on the way you play. Whereas swimming, running, cycling, and all the non-racket sports are all round. So you tend to work both the arms, both the legs all the time. And that is a major glaring difference. In weights also, generally you will tend to work with both arms. Sports like kabaddi, kho-kho, which are Indian sports, are very aerobic and are very good for cardiopulmonary fitness. Now talking about weight training. I have put a note there, need to be careful at all times. It is not because weights are dangerous, but weights per se are quite safe as long as you are within the limits. Like anybody else who trains, after a little while you get cocky and you try to use weights bit beyond your capacity and sometimes can come up to grief. And that's why I keep saying need to be careful at all times. I always recommend slow progression. So don't jump from 5 kilos to 20 kilos to 40 kilos and then hurt yourself. It's one of the best resistive exercises that you can have. If you can do weight training with slow motion rather than fast movements, it is very, very powerful. My preference is for dead weights better than machines because dead weights resist and work on the body all the way, on the way up and on the way down. Whereas machines tend to work only one way. And I know people swear by the fact that I will use the other machine for the other group of muscles. But it is also important to learn that both groups of muscles have to work agonic in conjunction with each other. But that is my personal preference. I prefer dead weights better than machines. The general benefits are specific to muscle groups. So you might find you do the biceps and then you have to do the tricep, then you do the forearm. So whichever muscle groups you work, only those muscle groups show results. And to work the whole body, you need to work a lot of machines or a lot of protocol or a lot of exercises. We always recommend you should work with an instructor or a teacher to make sure you're safe and you do not hurt yourself. Jogging and running. Now this is one of the big, simplest, most popular exercise routines around the world. It is one of the best aerobic fitness exercises. But please watch out for polluted areas. You don't want to walk through or run through smog, smoke, haze, poor oxygen, chemically polluted areas and then come up with problems. I've listed some of the other hazards that we all have to watch out. Watch out for hazards like potholes, overhangs, uneven ground, poles that might come in, and while you're running around thinking your feet are safe, you knock your head against something, so you need to be very careful. Keep an eye out, besides traffic, if you're running on the roads. It's a massive amount of work on the legs because the arms work only a little bit in comparison. Long distance running can overload your system because long distance running is all about pounding your feet on grass, clay, sand, tar, asphalt, concrete, whatever it is. And over time, it can take its toll. Now, I'm talking about long distance where people are doing marathons regularly and ultra marathons, etc., etc. The other thing, long distance runners and avid runners who run more than 5 or 10 kilometers a day routinely, they need to keep control over their endorphin effect of addiction. The endorphin effect gives what I call a bit of a happy feeling, wonderful feeling. And after a while, if you don't go for a jog or don't go for a run, you miss it. And if you miss it so much that you can't go without it, then you're at the point where it is having an endorphin effect of addiction. And you must be able to curtail that and not get swept away by that feeling. Now I go to stretching. Now stretching is not really an exercise per se because you're not moving the body, you're just stretching certain muscles and tendons. But stretching is very good for better performance. Stretching is very good for relaxing the muscles. Stretching is very good for toning the muscles. Now we are going to recommend all of you to stand up and stretch. Put your arms above your head and stretch as tall as you can. On your feet, don't go on your tippy toes, flat feet, and pull the arms up as tall as you can. Stretch the spine up and stretch the arms up all the way as tall as you can. Now I'm going to introduce you to a video. The asana being used is Tadasana, where she will be demonstrating stretching all the way on her tippy toes. And I would like you all to practice that as the video is seen, so that you can have an experience of what proper stretching is all about. I'm also going to give you a video on stretching for bad backs.
Hello, Namaste. I am 38-year-old entrepreneur and I am doing 8 to 9 hours work every day, which involves mostly managerial work. I am doing daily yoga for the past few months for my regular physical fitness. A month ago, I experienced severe pain in my back and I had to discontinue my exercises. Even the allopathic medicine did not have any effect for 2 to 3 days. Then I visited Dr. Anand Bapat, who recommended some stretching exercises. In about 24 hours, I could see the effects of the stretching, and within 4 to 5 days, I was back to normal with no pain in my back. The exercises which were recommended was simple stretching, pulling the hands upwards with a complete spinal stretch, standing like this for few seconds and repeating it for 4 to 5 times and iterating it for 4 to 5 times a day. That's it. I strongly recommend this stretching for your backaches. Thank you.
And you may try to stretch once again. And remember that it is a scientific Surya Namaskar concept. And we are going to touch on Surya Namaskar further down in the exercise section. Now we are going to come up to slow motion exercises. Now slow motion exercises is based on the principle of yoga, where everything you do is in slow motion. The slower, the better. Here we're going to take squats, and you can either squat all the way down to the floor without touching the floor, just standing on your legs but sitting as low as you can. Ideally, you should be squatting with breath control. So when you go down, you breathe out, and as you start coming up, you breathe in. And again, we are going to show you a slow motion video of how the squat should be performed, how therapeutic it is. We are finding it tremendously useful for early stages of osteoarthritis. People are jumping back to normal and wondering why they were never told such simple exercises.
Hi, my name is Vinay Karatkar. I was suffering from cartilage degeneration of my left knee, and it used to give a lot of problem whenever I used to get down or get up. So basically, if I were to get down like this, it would really hurt, like around right here. It still does a little bit. Uh, I had actually then started taking some painkillers, some medication, didn't really help too much. Then I reached out to orthopedic surgeon also, and he recommended a few exercises, some medication that was giving some results, but I was still not happy. Which is when I reached out to Anand Bapat to find out if he can also help me on that. He suggested two or three fairly simple exercises. One was, of course, on the very slow squats with legs parallel shoulder length, and then I have already shown that slow squats. The other one was also sitting with a pillow between my knee, behind my knees, so that it sort of gets stretched. With all of this, it has really helped to bring down the pain factor from about from on a level of about uh, where it was 7 to 8 on a level of 10. Now it is now down to about 2 to 3 for the most part. I'm also able to play badminton, much more. I'm able to go for a trek, etc. So that has really helped. It took me about 15 days or so to start seeing some basic improvement in the knee, etc. For strengthening my thigh muscles and also for working on my knee. After about a month or so, it has really gotten much better. So really thanks a lot to Dr. Anand Bapat. Thank you.
So look at this video again and you might see something, and if it's useful, please take it home, practice it and benefit. And last but not the least, I'm going to talk about acupressure exercise, which again we'll be dealing in the acupressure section a bit more in detail, but I'll just talk about clapping hands. So when we clap hands, generally we do this. Or in India, when people do an arti, they tend to do Jai Deva, Jai Deva, Jai Mangal Murti, Darshan Matre Mana, Amana Purti, Jai Dev, Jai Dev. What I'm suggesting and recommending, looking at it from an acupressure perspective, is when they do so, anybody claps hands, if they can clap like that, or they can do it as an exercise every day for about a minute, and all they have to do is take both their hands and clap it with the fingers against each other as hard as you can. The harder the better. Now if you do that for about a minute, you'll be surprised how your hands get warm. You suddenly find the hands become lively. They may even go a bit tingly, and you actually find your hands are rejuvenated. For some of you, where certain acupressure points may have been effective, it may also get rid of some of your problems. So whether it's a sore neck or whether it's a bit of a pain in the backside or anything like that, get rid of all that. So good luck to you, and I hope it's helpful to you. Now, what are the points to note that we have discussed under exercise today? Exercise is essential for good health. You all agree with me on that. I'm sure you'll also agree that moderation is the best, but a lot of us do a lot of things to excess. I've seen weightlifters do, or weight training people go to extremes. I've seen runners go to extremes. So I recommend moderation is best. Work all the muscles, the heart and the lungs. Take care when you work with weights. Respect them. Slow motion exercises are very powerful. Remember to increase the battery power of your muscles, stored energy, for having better reserve energy. The same battery power will be handy in emergencies, either in illness or in crisis. Good stretching is essential for toning your body, toning the muscles, and keeping tendons agile. So what have we looked at? We have looked at ideas about Exercise, we have talked about what is exercise, we have talked about battery power, we have talked about exercise to be done, what exercise should not be done, the precautions, etc. So now that you know all that, I would like you all to put into practice some of these knowledge tips. We have not given you any prescription for what exercises to do or not to do. At the end of this whole exercise routine, which is over 4 videos, the last video will give you a prescription of different combination of exercises as per your choices. We'll put together a few different combos so that you might be able to choose and take home something that you can work with. And like everything else, if you keep doing exercise regularly and becomes a part of you, it'll be part of doing and being, and then you move on to becoming a part of your life. And just to recap again, I'm based in Pune, Bharti Acupuncture Bhavan with natural therapies, treat patients, teach Surya Namaskar through Scientific Surya Namaskar Academy. It takes us 8 hours to teach people proper Surya Namaskar. We are attempting to bring science to natural therapies. I'm a strong proponent of Shivambu since I know a lot about it. We offer a free internet clinic for the last 4-5 years where we have been treating people online and people have benefited. We offer Freedom from Disease as an educational program, a lecture series which is normally a one-off lecture for 4 hours, but it could be packaged into 3 or 4 lectures of 1 hour each or 1.5 hours each. Presently, that same series is being presented to you on YouTube through this video series, and we hope that this would be helpful. I trust this has been helpful, and I sincerely hope you benefit from this, and I'll meet you again next week with another video. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Anand Bapat, for your valuable information on health. This series is a 15 to 22 part series on developing oneself into a healthy person. This series will educate, guide, and provide support through our online educational and support services to enhance your health. All queries are welcome on the following email.
Download app Health Siren for all health solutions at your doorstep.